but it's a shame that they have to do it.
I know that there's been a real issue on Maui, and I'm not certain, maybe you can comment also, Judge Wilson, about Oahu, but on Maui we have a severe overcrowding problem in our facility, and how that's been impacting the program. I know there was talk before under the prior administration of being able to looking at a new public safety complex, but a lot of people just feel like the Maui jail is just that, it's a jail, but there's actually other activities that are going on.
I should mention that. We, as a part of our really successful relationship with public safety, early on we asked if they would set aside some of their space. It's built based on dorms, modules, so they were able to do this. We were able to establish what we call Dorm 5, which can house 24 men, and Dorm 3, and then Dorm 5 is for 12 women. And we use that as a treatment dorm where we can house someone for up to 90 days, intensive, inpatient, 100% treatment before they come out into the outpatient portion of the program. Now that's allowed us to do a couple of things. One, we can take people who I might not otherwise want to put at risk in the community. If I place them in the dorm for the 90 days of treatment, I have a lot more confidence that when they come out they will be successful in the program, and that's actually been borne out to be quite true. They are perhaps more successful than the people who don't cycle through the dorm. And the other thing is, we have people who start in the outpatient program not incarcerated, and they falter and they don't do well. And so we can take them and either as a sanction or as a full 90-day term place them in the treatment dorm in the jail and strengthen them, get them rehabilitated, and it becomes a collegial thing, you know. You get a group of guys together working on their recovery, and right. they bond, and that's a real strength. And because we've had those dorms available to us, that's a tremendous asset. And when I hope that if we do build a new jail, that they're going to save room for us, because using that facility, it actually allows us to treat those people who would probably otherwise be sent to prison.
Well, and I know that right now the facility is very much overcrowded, and I think it was built for 250 people, and there's something like 450 people in it now. So, you know, I'm sure that if we did have that new complex, that we would be able to add more space for people that really needed it. I'm not sure if right now it's adequate, or whether you would like to put more people in the 90-day program, but aren't unable to.
We could do more. I've taken my hat off to the people who run that facility. They do a tremendous job.
You know, there's no choice. We live on an island. It's really difficult when you're dealing with this kind of thing, and it's not like we can send them to Oahu. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the cost a little bit about this. I think we've kind of addressed the issue of people thinking it's a soft on crime program and it's a way of not putting people in jail, but it's actually a program to help people turn their lives around and get out of the cycle of being a felon or whatever the case may be. But I know that for my aspect from law enforcement, we were very thrilled to have the program, because it was less time that I had to spend in court testifying, which meant less overtime, less paperwork, and I'm sure the prosecutors liked it, because basically these cases where they come up and a public defender or whomever, their defense attorney can come in and say, you know, my client wants to apply. So what happens? They come in and they plead guilty to the crime, and that's basically it. And then if they don't complete the program, then they go to jail.
But they don't have to plead guilty. In tracks 1 and 2, if we accept them into the program, they never plead guilty.
Okay.
If they succeed,
so but later on, then
if they succeed, we dismiss the charges.
Right.
And well, I appreciate you bringing up the issue of cost, because I know the public really does care about that, and that's a really interesting part of the idea of this program working. The cost of incarcerating somebody for a year is considered in the range of $40,000 a year. The cost of putting somebody in drug court for a year is about $10,000. So if you look at the numbers that you have, 150 or so in your drug court, we have a similar sized drug court. The approximation is $600,000 or $800,000 a year saving, taking somebody and putting them in drug court rather than in an incarcerated situation. But if you add to that the idea that it's actually working, as opposed to incarcerating this population, that is nonviolent drug abusers, not only do you get a bang for your buck in terms of just raw economics, but you also get a bang for it because you're changing, again, as we talked about, the kind of patterns that people have in life so that they learn how to be law-abiding. So, yeah, it's a big cost savings.
Two other things I add. We charge them $500 each to participate in the program, so we actually get something back. Sometimes they do it with community service, which is fine. That benefits the community. And also, one of the requirements is that they get a full-time tax-paying job, or go to school full-time, but many of them just opt for the job, although quite a few go to college. It's surprising. So they're tax-paying members of the community.
And as Judge Raffetto said before, they pay the restitution.
That's right. Right.
So
And
they have to do that, the program.
Well, they pay that, and they pay any fines. You know, when we place someone on probation, we charge them a probation services fee. It's $150 for a felony, and so they pay that, which helps us run the judiciary.
I think it's good that you folks have the option that if they don't have any money, that they can do community service and go pick up rubbish or whatever on the side of the road.
We're big on community service. You know, one of the big parts of the program we haven't emphasized is the participation directly of the judge. During the entire stay in the program, the people are coming back to court on a regular basis for an in-depth review with the judge in the open courtroom with everybody present about how they're doing in the program. And of course, we try to emphasize positive things because the studies show that positive reinforcement is more effective than negative reinforcement. And so you develop this personal relationship sort of with each person. You learn an awful lot about people. And that aspect of it is really the critical thing that the drug court brings to the process, is the active participation of the judge. The National Drug Court people will tell you that the treatment people do a better job and the participants do a better job because the judge is very directly involved. Now, in the beginning, they come every week.
Right.
And then as they go through the phases and they're a little able to stand on their own feet, why we reduce that. But they always come back to see the judge until they're out of the program.
I should mention, too, that Judge Raffetto certainly isn't considered to be a lenient judge. The other side of coming back before the judge each week is if you aren't following the conditions, you're incarcerated.
Right.
There are relatively immediate consequences or sanctions.
Now, the program started at different levels. It originated on Maui, is that correct?
No, it started on Oahu.
Started on Oahu, but you kind of you were the lead person on Maui. That,
Right.
What was it, 12 years ago, 15 years ago?
It's about almost 12 years ago. Yeah, what you may recall, the law was at that time that if an adult was caught with any amount of methamphetamine, the judge had to send them to prison for 5 years.
Right.
So they had just developed a program on Oahu so that a person didn't have to be sent to prison, but here we were over in Maui sending people to prison. I said, I got permission from my chief judge to carry the ball. And
so you pulled together, I guess, well, at the time was Chief Tagamori, Howard Tagamori.
He actually inspired the whole anti-meth movement on Maui.
Yes.
Yeah, he was very instrumental in getting us all together and telling us that the community had a rally, and we did. Yeah, and this was part of that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to know that this was kind of community-based, and in terms of that the approach came to, it wasn't some half-baked scheme that somebody said this is what it is. So.
Let me interject here. That's a very important point. When we started the drug court, we called together all the stakeholders: the police, the public defender, the prosecutor's office, public safety, people from the jail, and the judiciary. It was that group that decided what the drug court would be, and that's why they're slightly different on each island. If you go around the islands, they're different. And this is just our version of it. And that actually is the national model. They know that each community is slightly different, so they don't expect it to be a cookie cutter kind of thing,
right.
Although the fundamentals are the same. And so if you look at a drug court in each community, that's a result of the desire of the stakeholders, of the combined effort of the stakeholders.
So gentlemen, looking forward, what do we need to do to continue the success of this program, and can it be expanded? What direction do we need to be looking at in the near future and the long-term future in terms of dealing with the issue of drugs in our community and drug offenders?
If I could just speak to that first. We have about 70 people at all times on our wait list, so we could probably handle a 200-person drug court in Maui. We go from about 108 to 120 if we're fully staffed. we could handle 200 people. These are the nonviolent B and C felony offenders. But what I'm working on now is to try to take that concept where with the judge's involvement and the high level of treatment and coming back to court on a regular basis and expand that to the rest of the high-risk criminal justice population. I'm working on that right now. I think that's the way we ought to go, and then that's because we've proven that this model works.
Right.
Why wouldn't you double down on that? You know,
exactly.
That's my philosophy, and that's what I'm seeking to do over in Second Circuit.
And is there going to be more money that's necessary to be involved?
Well, we don't have it right now, so we're trying to do it with the resources that we have, but eventually I hope we can get some resources, yeah.
Well, the viewers out there wanted to get involved and participate, and they want to help the program. How can they do that? Is there any way for the general public, Judge Wilson, to help out? I mean, is there nonprofits that are also helping on the fringe of this to try to help with the funding piece of it?
The general public is really critical to this, and I would say the best way that the general public can help is to refer people, to understand, because one thing that is clear about the viewers that are watching this is that they will all be able to think of somebody that has a substance abuse problem. Mm-hmm. Right. And so this is for the community, and the more that the community makes referrals in the sense of referring somebody for treatment, if they're in the criminal justice system, brings up the issue, the more important that's going to be. Communicating with individuals like you that are leaders in the community that decide where money's going to be spent. Because the kind of program that is actually working in the criminal justice system is one that stands out. There aren't that many. And for the public's point of view, I think they can participate by having their Rotary clubs invite Judge Raffetto or any of the judges that are involved in the criminal justice system. Yeah. The public can invite judges to come and speak at the schools about the program, and just to feel free to contact the judiciary and ask for information if they need it.
I think a lot of people get afraid of judges, and so they don't. They kind of feel like you folks are back on that bench with your robes on. Judge Raffetto, I want to especially thank you for coming. He flew all the way over from Maui to be here at our studios on Oahu. On his own dime.
No.
Oh,
my
really?
Chief Justice to let me come.
Oh,
so
he did.
We
Okay.
want to thank him.
All right. Well,
Chief Justice Rechtenwald.
We need to thank him to let him come over here and fly over to be on the show. Very busy schedule for both of these gentlemen, so having them on the show is just fantastic. So thank you again.
Thank you for
coming
your
over,
interest.
and we'll hopefully have you come back and we can talk about some of the success stories.
Sure. Absolutely.
Folks, we love to hear from you. If you want to write in to the Fontaine Factor, the email is up on the screen right now, repfontaine@capital.hawaii.gov. That's repfontaine@capital.hawaii.gov. Write us in. Make sure your comments are pithy and maybe keep it to a paragraph or two, and make sure that you put your name and town at the bottom so that we can acknowledge you on the air. Again, name and town, if you want to write to us. We've had some letters that have come in. Unfortunately, we ran out of time tonight to cover some of those, but we do want to hear from you, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, maybe some suggestions of shows on topics that you'd like me to cover. So please write in and let us know how we're doing. And we're here to serve you, and that's what this show is all about. So thank you for tuning in to the Fontaine Factor.